Everybody cool it.
I stood out on that lonely point, watching the fog roll in. The ice-cold water pounded against the rocks around me. The spray off the water whipped against my face. The air was filled with a rhythmic cadence. I don't remember what had drawn me to this place. Seagulls circled slowly above my head. Hungry scavengers looking for something to eat. This was the beach they call home. Off in the distance, I could hear the drone of a motorboat engine. I looked all around for the boat, but the fog was so thick. I could hear the engine straining against the waves, but I couldn't see anything. They must have left port earlier in the day, probably while the sun was still out. But now the fog had rolled in, and those brave mariners were desperately trying to get home, alive. It reminded me of my own mortality. I don't know what I expected to find in that place. Perhaps I'd be forced to confront some long-forgotten nightmare. Maybe I'd look up and recognize myself. Some people insist the ocean always gives up her dead. But as I looked around me, all I saw was rotting pieces of wood. This was a noisy place, a lonely place, a frightening place. I felt as if I was standing on death's doorstep ringing the bell. I jumped up and down, my arms flaying around. The voice in my head kept screaming, "They're gonna crash." I was totally helpless. Just when I was sure I couldn't stand another moment of this torture, the boat broke through the fog, narrowly avoiding a head-on collision with the jagged rocks. I started laughing. I waved as the boat headed away. I don't think they saw me. Suddenly I stopped laughing. I had a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'm sure I heard an albatross crying out somewhere in the fog. I wanted to get away from that lonely place. I turned to leave as the waves continued to pound the rocks below me. Blow after blow, never skipping a beat.